Okay, so the last place we were at was the definition of leadership, which we said was it's not about qualities, personalities, nor charisma, but it is work, responsibility, and to earn trust. And Peter Drucker said that it's unromantic and boring, but it's a sense for performance. Or he said a lot more than that, but yeah. Today we'll be talking about what is a dream. A dream is just imagine if. What would I do if I didn't what's that word? If I didn't have to worry about others laughing. That's what a dream is. Michael Jordan said, I miss 100% of the shots I don't take. So, shoot your shot. Wouldn't it be cool if I could do this selfish part? What would you do for God if you can know you wouldn't fail? So that's something to think about. Okay, what is a vision? A vision is a detailed dream with direction. So dream is just imagine if. That's a dream. A vision is a detailed dream with direction. Next, we have a goal. It's a vision, with dedication, and a deadline. So it's a vision. A goal is a vision with dedication and a deadline. Walt Disney said this, quote, "It's kind of fun to do the impossible." He also said, "What happens backstage is just important as front stage. You'll never make it to the end zone if you stay in the comfort zone." Well, he didn't say that, but I think one of the speakers said that. Jeff Waltz, yeah, that's who said that. And some questions are, what would you do for the glory of God if you knew you could not fail? What do you value? 1 through 5 things. Describe a dream that you would like to achieve. What are 3 steps you could take right now that would move you closer to that reality? Those are some things to think about. Okay, so let's go to reimagine. So reimagine. It's a new segment. The Bible is a story that gives all the stories meaning and definition. If redemption is not the theme of a story, it's not worth telling of any story. So for scripture, there's 4 plot movements. There's creation. There's fall, redemption, and restoration. Right here is the creation, though. Like, it's not what it'd look like, but it's just, resemblance of God and just touching and creating the universe, let's just say. So you have creation. God created the heavens and earth, and it was all good. And then there was the fall. The fall is when Adam and Eve took a bite of the apple and they sinned against God. And even the Tower of Babel. So you have the fall. Life alert. Fallen and I can't get up. Well, that's us without God. We're fallen and we can't get up, and we need a creator. We need someone else bigger that can help us. And then redemption. Redemption is Jesus Christ coming and saving our sins and dying for our sins and coming back to life. So that's redemption. And next is restoration, that there will be a new life and another life after it. So that's kind of like a look at redemption, God grabbing his hand and pulling us up, and then restoration. I don't have a picture for that. But okay, there's 3 things we have to do. We have to redefine what has become. We have to regain what was lost. or reimagine what could be. You got to believe what you can be. So here's some good notes. God gave us a gift of freedom, relationship, and imagination. Genesis 2:19-20. Adam used imagination to fulfill God's plan for me. Imagination, to use creative energy within the context of God's creation to fulfill God's purpose. That's pretty good. I'm gonna write that down. Within the context of God's creation. From the context of God's creation to fulfill God's purposes. To fulfill God's purposes. Imagination. To use creative energy within the context to fulfill God's purposes. That's good. So what are you being creative and imagining or dreaming about that God's giving you? Because that is a gift of God, and let us make the most of it for His glory. As that's what I've been doing with these live streams or devotion videos. That was something I haven't heard of. Someone told me to do. Something I thought of, imagined, and believed. And it seems like a problem. As if you saw my last video, I was talking about DNA of dolphins. I talked a little bit about that. That the dolphins should stay together, not be alone. So we should communicate and learn about the Bible together, not alone. Okay. So, swallow the big frog first. Ephesians 5:15-17, I believe says this. Pay careful attention then to how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time. That's very important, because the days are evil. So don't be foolish, but understand that the Lord's will is so master self-discipline to be a leader. Environment can cause distractions. Procrastination is a sin. Anyway, here's the big frog. Swallow this big frog first. Never put off tomorrow what you can do today. Application is essential. The brain associates environments with experiences. So there's this one story I heard while I was at SLU where there's this guy. We were asked by Jeff Wallace, well, where do y'all go to study? And I actually raised my hand, and I said, at my desk, in my schoolroom, and I'll even put like ear mufflers on, like with where there's no volume or anything. It's like what they wear when they're like jigsawing or whatever. I'll do that and try to be alone. So I really do like everything I do to have no distractions. This one guy said he gets in his car, he's driving or something, and that's where he studies, so that there's like nowhere to put all your books and stuff and write it down, and that'd be hard to do, and you're just so comfortable. I can imagine he just pulls down the seats to have so much more leg room, and he blasts the music up, listens to music, and it's like super loud. But that's the experience that he's used to within that environment. So how is he supposed to study? Okay. Choose the right table to the task. So yeah, that's what I mentioned. Only bring to the table what's necessary to the task. So yeah, if you don't need it, or something when you're supposed to study, then don't bring it, because that'll be so relaxing you'll want to fall asleep. There's a lot more examples, but that one works. If I do these things, it will endure me through difficult seasons. I will put my frog where I can always see it. So yeah, they gave us a frog, a small little frog to let us think, to put the first things first. In the land of plenty, I must work to be disciplined. So yeah, swallow the big frog first. You gotta dig a well before you're thirsty. You have to purchase your tomorrows today. You have to do all those things. Because if you don't, then when you need to swallow that frog, or you need to drink something, you'll be too dehydrated. You'll be too full because it's too big of a frog. Okay. The art of self-leadership. The most powerful leadership tool you have is your own personal example, by John Wooden, which is a famous basketball coach, I believe. Know yourself so you can be true to yourself. So you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and say, is this really how I am? How am I really? So be true to yourself. Your priorities drive decisions. So have your priorities in check. I will not lie even though it hurts. So it's kind of like this. No, not that. Yeah. Like this one. Honesty is still the best policy, even when the truth makes me feel bad. Face it, don't fake it. There's a lot more than that. The price of greatness is responsibility. Winston Churchill. So right here, responsibility. I will prioritize what I value most over what I want. This is all under the art of self-leadership, or even self-discipline. I will not attempt to lead myself by myself, which is why I like these live streams I make or Bible videos, because it gets engagement and community connection as we learn and study about this together, as we lead each other together as a community instead of by ourselves. Okay, my friends determine the direction and quality of my life. C.S. Lewis said this: the next best thing to being wise oneself is to live in a circle of those who are wise. So, who's your pod? Who's those people you have around you? Are they wise? If you don't have any like that, then try to watch these live streams I'll be making, and we can talk together, communicate together. I would love to help y'all communicate and just have a stronger relationships. Okay, you are only one decision away from transforming your life in a good or positive way. In a good way or a bad way. A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. That's by John Maxwell, which he actually was a pastor in a church like in Atlanta, and my dad knows him. Okay, next we have know where you're going. SMART goals. SMART goals. So, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. That's Proverbs 16:3 NIV. Ooh, this is by Stephen Covey, which I've read the 7 Habits books by him. Establishing a SMART goal is an effective tool that provides the clarity, focus, and motivation you need to achieve your goal. Begin with the end in mind. Oh yeah, that was the second habit, beginning with the end in mind, in his book. So, SMART goals, it's an acronym, and the S stands for specific. So, simple, sensible, significant. And your goal should be as specific as possible and answer the questions: what is my goal? Why is this goal important? Who is involved, if anyone? Where will it take place? And how often or how much time? That's very specific. That's specific. Here you go. So specific has, the little square, but within that square is the little star. Measurable, meaningful, or motivating. You cannot manage what you do not measure. How will you measure your goal? Measurement will give you specific feedback and hold you accountable. So you gotta measure it and have a deadline. Like, if you're trying to get stronger, you gotta set goals to, increase your bench press or whatever every month by like 10 pounds or whatever. So you measure how many more reps you do until next month, and you hopefully get it. But if you don't, then you must have not done enough that week. So then you work harder and longer and more consistent the next week, and then you'll do it more, whichever it may be. So S, M, and the A stands for attainable, agreed upon, achievable. Goals should push you, but it is important that they are achievable. Are your goals attainable? Ask yourself the question: based on my current situation, surroundings, and circumstances, are my goals attainable? If not, what adjustments must you make? What you get by achieving your goals is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. By Zig Ziglar. That's a really good quote. Yeah, all that, which I said. So that means if it's the journey of trying to get to the goal, which is seems more important in achieving than actually being at the end of the finish line. So R, realistic, reasonable, relevant, results-based. This step is about ensuring that your goal matters to you and that it also aligns with other relevant goals. Answers the question: is my goal and time frame for accomplishing my goal realistic? Does it seem worthwhile? Is this the right time? Do I believe I have the capacity and ability to complete this goal? Those are some things to think about. Realistic, reasonable, relevant, results-based. And then finally, T is for timely. Time-bound, time-based, time-sensitive, time-limited. Until we can manage time, we can manage nothing else. That's by Peter F. Drucker, which I mentioned in the last video. He's written 39 books on leadership, and I believe from a secular worldview too. Do you have a time frame listed in your SMART goal? This helps you be accountable and helps in motivation. A timely goal will usually answer this question: how long? Today, 1 week, 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So that's good. So yeah, write down all those, and whichever first you'd start off your dream. Just imagine what if no one laughed or stuff. And then a vision, the detailed dream with a little direction. So what steps would take me into direction, and detail it a little more. And then goals, detailed. It's a vision with determination and a deadline. So, and then you think of that as a specific. Wait here. Here, let me show you. Yeah. And within that, I would think use imagination to use creative energy. So if you do have goals or dreams or whichever it may be, you gotta think, does it go within good imagination, or new is better than better. So if you can be creative with imagination, that may be better than doing the same thing someone else is doing, but just trying to be better than them. So I think if it would be within God's context and purposes. So yes, so yeah, I would highly recommend writing that down, especially since it is a scientific fact that I will forget 80 to 85% of what I hear within 24 hours if I don't write it down. So if you don't write this down, you'll forget 80 to 85% within 24 hours. So I'd say write all of that down and then think about it. Okay. So, you have a choice in life. Live on purpose or by accident, according to the plan you've set, or reacting to the demands of others. So, being proactive or reactive. Which, being proactive is the first habit of highly effective people. And it's the first one in personal development. So, that's why you have to set your clothes out the night before you wake up in the morning. Set the night before. Tools for time management. The first essential is a disciplined mind. The second essential is a calendar. The third essential is a task list. And they even gave us apps, calendar apps. You got Google Calendar, a CAL, an Apple Calendar, task management apps. You got Productive, AnyDo, and Everlist. Non-digital planners, Franklin Planner, Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt, and Bullet Journal. Here's some good notes I put. Speak truth in a loving way. Flatliners, near-death experiences. One God, what, and three who's. For there to be love, it must be both ways. If I don't stand for something, I'll fall for anything. So, I wrote this down when I had a debate with Sean McDowell, and I raised my hand. I was talking about, well, what do you think of your good friend Richard Dawkins, which believes like we basically came from aliens? He was like, he's not my friend, first off, and I don't believe him. I think he's crazy and a lunatic, and other Christians don't believe that too. But he's an apologetic, so from a Christian worldview. So, he was just role playing. He had his classes. Guys, and so that meant he was an atheist. And I raised my hand in front of hundreds of people and just asked that. And but anyway, when everyone else is doing it, they all just seem like salty towards him, even though he's just role playing an atheist. So it just reminded me and everyone else that we need to speak truth in a loving way. Though we believe God's word is true, we just do it in a loving way. And more just like truth or evidence for believing in our faith is like flatliners and near-death experiences, which is when like you'll die and then like the story, the two people, they literally like the kind of like the amps or whatever, the two things like clear like shocks them or whatever, and they try to make themselves experience the near-death experiences, and just as they were going up to heaven or whatever, they mentioned like there's a shoe at the upstairs and the bottom on the floor at the left corner, and the color is blue and it's by Adidas or whatever. And before you knew it, God bless. Peace out, and subscribe and like and share so this go out to more people and be more helpful for them in their lives and for God especially. And thank you for doing so. See you.